Well, here we are on the disused railway line in Kinnerton. Welcome to the Maythorn Monthly. We're going to explore this month. We're also going back to Bulgaria, and we'll be going back to Spain, but not in the way you think. We'll be going back to 2006. In August 2006, I needed to go to Spain to get a Spanish tax number, a NIE, N-I-E, and also to give power of attorney to the solicitors who will be acting for me in the purchase of my apartment. So I went over, based myself in Denyer, which was a fine place to be, and carried on from there. As you can see, there was a bit of work going on in Denyer at the time, and also we had some rain. Now this is August. We don't expect rain in Spain in August, even on the plane. This is the part of Spain that I like the most. In most places, Denyer is full of activity at night, so a quick siesta in the hotel, and you come out and eat and drink and wander around and just enjoy the atmosphere of Denyer town. So from nighttime in Spain in the summer to nighttime in Bulgaria in the winter. This is the city centre of Varna, and we were staying in a hotel in Varna, as you may have known, and we went out into the town to get something to eat. Lots of English names on the streets here, and Starbucks, Costa and various others, but we were looking for traditional Bulgarian food. Needless to say, we found it, and we also enjoyed a look around the town at night, where there's lots of interesting buildings all well lit up. There's really no use in talking to that bloke. You should just move on, mate. The violinist that we saw in the parks in a previous video is also in the town at night. I don't know if he makes any money, but there he is outside the restaurant area. Anyway, we're going to scoot off now because it's time for bed. Oh, and this dog agrees. He's going back to his hotel as well. And we're going back to Spain. I was taken to Benidorm police station by a very nice Romanian girl. The reason for that was that that's where I got my tax number, and she was chauffeuring me around one day and sorted out the power of attorney. We went to the notary office and so on. And then I was on my own again. I went down to Oropesa, to Marina d'Or. This stretch of beach is no longer there. All those trees were washed away, and a new sea defence has been put up in the last few years. One place I've never got tired of going is the main gardens down by the hotels. There's lots of water effects, there's music playing in the background from little speakers in the rocks, and there's a high point where you can go up and take photographs and get a good view all around the area. So although you have to fight your way through other families trying to take their own photographs, it's always a good place to get up to take some of these shots. Now we head down to where the apartment's being built. I didn't use the train on this occasion. I wanted to walk and see everything. And we're on now the stretch where the apartments are being built. Costa Azar 1 is a second line. That was it you just saw. Marina d'Or had a sales office opposite at the time and did do for several years afterwards. Now, it wasn't finished at this point. This is 2006, as I said, but you could already see that most of the apartments were built. The side of the road where the development was still closed off, but it's a dual carriageway now, and there was one carriageway opened by Costa Caribe 3. Behind the apartments, all the building materials and waste was stored, and there's a great strip of land between the back of the apartments and the railway. And later on there was a substation built on this bit, run by Iberdrola, the electricity company. Trains go past all the time, but you don't notice them after a while. And basically that was it. Went down to the beach, had a look back towards the apartments, and from that picture you can get an idea of how long it might take to walk from our apartment to the beach. And so that was my look round Marina d'Or in 2006, in August. I can't say I've been back in August since, because I find it too hot in Spain at that time of year. And this is the last bit you see on the walk back to the station to get your train home. It's just on its way round to Playa La Concha. There's a path along the cliff edge, and then you end up in what is more like a resort than Marina d'Or has ever been, the Playa La Concha beach. From here, a short walk up to the station and the train home. I wonder if you can guess where this is. There's a clue in the closed down pub, but at the beach could be in a lot of places. But it's actually one that we went to look at last week, because the lockdown restrictions have been eased a bit and we can now go to parks and beaches, so we will be doing so. This beach is at the Derby Pool, New Brighton on the Wirral. That's the pub, that's the beach in front of it, and as you can see, it's certainly not overcrowded. We actually stopped on this particular bit of beach because we noticed people were windsurfing. We thought we'd sit there and watch them. So back to Varna in Bulgaria, and this is the zoo park, and it's £3 to get in here, which is about £1.35 at current rates. It's not a big zoo or anything, but it's a very pleasant place to spend a morning or an afternoon, and you can get up quite close to some of the small birds and animals that are here. I tried to talk to a duck that came up to me, but it didn't speak, so I ended up having to find another bird to talk to, one that was far more talkative than the duck. I tried to sneak off while it wasn't looking, but it kept chattering away and I felt I had to go and talk to it. I don't suppose I need to tell you what any of these animals or birds are. They're all fairly common and you should know. And certainly don't take any notice of the signs that are on the front of their enclosures. Hey, coming in for a close-up. Back into our home village now, and since the last Maythorn Monthly we've gone through VE Day, so let's have a look down the main road in Higher Kinnerton where we live and see how our fabulously wild street party took place. One of the neighbours got the traditional wartime music out and there was quite an atmosphere given that nobody was anywhere near anyone else. We were out that day to walk along the disused railway line, which runs parallel with this main road, so you can either walk down the main road or cross over onto the railway line and walk down there. Well, let's take a look at that line this month. The railway line was of course closed in the 60s, so we're using an old map where it still existed, and we're going to walk the bits that was just shown on the map by the arrow. It has fields on one side and the main road and the houses on the other, the main road we were just on. We walked down here quite a lot because it's been a very warm May and we've needed to keep out the sun as much as possible. You can see that that's helped by all the tall trees and so on that you get along this path. You come out of this path onto Bennett's Lane, and you can't go any further here because they built a housing estate, well, a small group of executive houses actually. So we follow the line along, it crosses Sandy Lane, it goes along the edge of the fields and comes out on the main road a bit further up. Now there used to be a bridge over here, and this is where the station was at the time. You used to come across the fields, and this is the border between Higher Kinnerton and Lower Kinnerton. You can see on that map where the station is, and where these wires are is where the railway used to cross the road and then continue over towards Bretton and Saltney. You can walk on this half of the disused railway line as well. It's now got farmers' fields where the station was, and there's various fields and animals and butterflies and all sorts of things to look out for as you walk along this route. You get about a mile or so. It was a dual track railway back in the 60s, so it's a fairly wide path up to a point, and then it seems to get narrower and eventually it gets fairly impassable. And don't forget, we'd have to distance, so if we met anyone coming the other way there'd be nowhere to go, so we turned back at this point. But we've walked a couple of miles by this time, so a nice walk along the disused railway line in Higher and Lower Kinnerton. So from a railway that hasn't existed for over 40 years to one that is still under construction, and we visited in 2006. You can see at the bottom left there, Puerta del Mar. That's where the tram system starts out of Alicante and used to go up to El Campello, and we used to have to change at El Campello because that's as far as the tram went. From there on there's a disused railway. Here's the actual route map, so if you follow it up you'll see El Campello, and that's where we changed onto the narrow gauge train. It's a 1 metre gauge railway that went all the way to Denia at the time. Now I say at the time because that's changed since I last went as well. So that's the video I took boarding the tram in Alicante. This is El Campello, where the tram pulls in and the narrow gauge railway takes over. In 2016, with the tram already running as far as Calpe, they decided that they needed to do some work on the rest of the line. So this is Calpe station where the tram stops. They're not going to run the electric all the way to Denia, they're going to use diesel-electric locomotives, and in 2016 they stopped the route at Calpe station and started a replacement bus service, and that's still running. The work will continue there and should be ready by 2022. We won't wait for that, we'll head off to this house in Bulgaria, which has been modernised, as you can tell. Why has it got a raised patio that blocks the view of the fields and the hills beyond? Well, that's because of what's underneath. It's a bunker. Now, this is a work in progress, I should point out, and it is in our transport spot, so you can't expect to find rations and other things for your Armageddon situation down here. You've got a hobbyist making the biggest railway layout that he's ever imagined, and he's found a place to do it underground. Yeah, great man shed. I want one. Yes, property. Well, I should call this the bathroom spot this month because this is the bathroom in Portsmouth. I mentioned it last month that I had a solution to getting it done during lockdown. The bath was cracked and water had gone everywhere, and we had to take up the rotten floor. So I got some chipboard flooring by using click and collect at a local Wicks store down in Waterlooville, which the handyman who did this job is only 3 miles from. I ordered a bathroom suite from Victorian Plumbing, who are up in Formby on the Merseyside coast, and we also got some vinyl flooring to go on top. We got some aquaboard to go on the walls because all the tiling had been wrecked, and the old shower was a mixer type built into the wall, so we had to cover that up as well. The shower is now part of the mixer tap on the bath itself. So all that work went on by using a worker down, a handyman in fact, down in Portsmouth, who was able to carry on working, and my tenant just kept out of the way. There's decorating still to do, but my tenant says he's quite capable of doing that and will do so in his own time. And the other bathroom we've been following is the one in Bulgaria, where Davey is supervising the renovation of a house for a couple of ladies who are moving over from South Wales. The tiling's been going on at a pace, the hot water cylinder's in, there's plumbing and wiring, and the other thing that needed doing was a doorway that used to exist and had been bricked up has now been knocked out again, and you can get through from the main house into this new bathroom. So far they've got a toilet and a sink, and they're just waiting for the bath, which will go under the window when it finally arrives. Now here's the job that I've been able to attend to because it's not too far from where I live, and it's in my HMO in Wallasey on the Wirral. The washing machine broke down. In fact, it jammed, so it couldn't be used. So a tenant persuaded me by making some cake that I should come and deal with this. I got Argos to do a doorstep delivery of this new washing machine and just pushed it in, connected it up, and we were away. And while I was there, I noticed that the driveway and front garden that I'd been meaning to clear up for some time had been done, and apparently the neighbour in the house to the left there had done it for me because he was just bored in lockdown. That was great. Thank you, neighbour. So welcome to the vaults, and the tapes that I've been taking onto this hunk of a machine. These 10-inch tapes of my early broadcasts from the 60s, 70s, mainly 70s. I've nearly finished getting all these 10-inch tapes off. I've got about a dozen left to do. So that sounds good, doesn't it? Well, it is an achievement. There were 100 or so of those to take onto the computer. But here, there's probably several hundred 7-inch spools of tape. They're in library boxes. There's a number of small 5-inch spools which are interviews I've done with well-known people and other strange things that I've done while I've been out and about. So still quite a lot to capture. We've got some stuff for you this month in Play It Smart. So in Play It Smart this month, the video you're going to see is actually of a milling machine. That's like watching paint dry perhaps, unless you're interested in that sort of thing. It's actually cutting out front panels for equipment for my sound and disco business. The radio program is sort of connected because it's one of the first things that we ever built. So I used to work with an audio consultant in Crosby, Liverpool, who built some of the first sort of custom disco decks, only we built ours to broadcast standards, so we were able to use them on outside broadcasts. And this broadcast is live from Liverpool Airport back in 1973, and that in itself is a thing, because if you weren't familiar with the way things were then, you'll think, what? He did a broadcast live from an airport. You wouldn't be allowed near such a place anymore. And what's more, the public were invited to come along and see us, and there were various things going on at the airfield that the public could come to. So quite a revelation.
Brian Smart? Mersey is the station. It's the Brian Smart Show. With nothing but fun.
Smart Circus.
Time to be free again.
Delightful. That's Straws from their album Bursting at the Seams, and that's called Flying. I don't think that's quite the sort of flying that's going on here today at Speak Airport, but still.
Oh, who is the greatest DJ in the Zero Land? Oh yeah. Who's got a voice that's sweet, golden tonsils and a disco too, just for you, you can't deny. Brian Smart goes to your heart, so listen all the time.
Isn't that awful?
And listen, may I say to you, if you're listening at home now and you live near the airport, that you should come along and see us all in action. Well, I think that's the right word. And the air display, of course, later on today too. And we've got music here in the show tent with about 3 people. But all those people at home are still listening, I hope. Detroit Emeralds, you want it, you got it.
Until Toe and VHF, this is Smart Circus.
26 minutes to 10 o'clock, you're listening to Smart Circus, coming to you live this morning from Liverpool Airport. And our man here, Nicholas Peake. Morning, Nicholas.
Good morning, Ryan.
He's going to tell us what it's all about today.
Am I? Well, at 10 o'clock the static display opens, and this includes the Royal Air Force, the Royal Air Force Regiment, the Royal Navy, the Royal Marines, the Army, the Parachute Regiment, the Royal Air Forces Association, the Air Training Corps, the Alder Hey Intensive Care Unit, the Merseyside Society of Aviation Enthusiasts, Viscount Preservation Trust, whatever that is, something for philatelists, which is a series of souvenir postal covers specially designed to commemorate the display today, and people can get them stamped and all sorts of things, and they'll be worth a fortune in a few years. There's a fairground, of course, I've been told to say that.
Oh, I'm going.
And at 2 o'clock, that's when the flying display starts, and there's all sorts of things there, reading from my little notes. The Falcons parachute team with their freefall display, the Rothmans aerobatics team flying Pitts specials, no doubt, the Poachers aerobatic team with 4 jet provosts and the Blue Chips flying 2 chipmunks. Other aircraft on display will be Lightning, Vulcan, Lancaster, Mosquito, Hunter, Varsity, Hercules, Spitfire, Hurricane, Sea Fury, Meteor, Vampire, DC-10 and Trident 3.
I think something's flying overhead at the moment.
It's not me, but I'll be should be going up a bit later at about 12:30, I think, for the programme, then to talk to you from the balloon, I believe.
Yes, I hope that works. I mean, you're not going to fly away and we'll never see you again.
Providing I don't drop out of the balloon, I think I'll be all right.
You're insured, don't worry.
I bet I'd be.
Thank you, Nick.
Okay.
And if you live nearby, or you think you can get here before 11 o'clock, do come along. But if you can get here later on, we're back on the air at 12:25 for another half an hour. And we hope the Nicholas Peak will be going up in a balloon then, and maybe not coming down as well. Anyway, if you're already in the ground somewhere and you're looking for us, if you come down the main road and you go past the control point, and there's a tent on the left, and it's got our sign outside, our fantastically big sign, hand-painted by our station engineer, and you'll see us, and we're in here. It's not a very big tent, but at the moment there's not many people here, so that's fine. I have some dedications, things that have been handed to me on cigarette packets and all sorts. This one's for Billy Roscoe, David Roscoe and Fran of 546A Egbert Road, and that comes from Billy. One here which I picked up last night, and I did a discotheque last night at St William of York in Thornton, and I'm going to say hello to Jono, famous Jono of Crosby, and lots of love on your birthday from Nora, and I believe we did the request the other way around a few weeks ago for Nora from Jono. And it's the sound of Nazareth, and this one's made the charts as well, fantastic. It's called Broken Down Angel.
Used to be someone you could depend on.
And it seems to be fading away. Very slow fade, that. And that's Nazareth, and it's called Broken Down Angel. And right now...
Brian Smart is undoubtedly the greatest DJ in the world.
Mr. Everett, wow. And didn't he do well on Top of the Pops last night? Oh, superb it was. And it really created a disturbance in a show that's normally sort of stand on the screen mark and speak for 20 seconds and then we'll cut you off. But he really went mad, watering the plants in the studio and everything last night. I thought it's very good indeed.
So, this is the Techno Spot. You've just seen some of the subjects that I cover in this spot. Home automation is one of them. I've got nothing for you on that this month. I've shown you a lot of hubs lately, and I do have a new one to show you next month. Banking, digital banking, it's been a thing. In the past I've done reviews of the new digital banks that come out since the new licenses started to be issued in 2015. I think I started getting them in 2016. Revolut, I've pushed that before now as a multi-currency account. You have a card that you can use in just about every country you're likely to go to. Revolut has also recently set up in the US of A, so the Revolut America is up and running now. Revolut Australia has been running for a while, so part of our family moved down there, still using the Revolut down under. And Bulgaria, they've got an office in Sofia, so we generally use our Revolut cards, Colin and I, when we are in Bulgaria. Revolut have just issued me a new card, so I don't know if you've ever had a credit card or a bank card coming from one of the traditional banks. It's generally on a piece of A4 paper, which is a letter, and they've used some sort of gungy stuff to glue the card to the bottom, and you sort of peel it off and activate it. Revolut sent cards out using this. Now this is the same as the method they used back in the first days of 2015-16. The card's in there. You pull down on the bottom, it pops out the top. I just thought that was a good little idea. They have just switched from MasterCard to Visa. My MasterCard went out of date, so they sent me a new card and it was a Visa card. So just one little change from Revolut. Monzo was a bank I was using as a personal account in the early days before Starling turned up and did things a bit better. But Starling now, at this point in time, only have about 800,000 customers even now, whereas Monzo have 4 million and they've started to jump ahead again. So taking another look at Monzo, interesting thing about Monzo, used to create a stir when I first got it, was the colour of the card, and I've still got that one. And it doesn't run out until September, so see if they still do these strange coloured cards everybody looks at. Anyway, I went back into the app recently to see how they were getting on, found out they had a business account, and so I opened a business account with Monzo. Now I have to repeat, as I've said before, to open any of these new Challenger Bank accounts takes only a few minutes. You download the app onto your phone, you go through a verification process where you perhaps hold up your driving license to your phone camera or your passport, whichever, and then you hold your camera in your face and show them it really is you. And once they're happy it's you that's opening the account, you're away, you get a sort code and account number, and it all takes a couple of minutes. So I've done that with Monzo Business. I've also just done it with a bank called Anna. Anna is a new bank that it basically is interested in small businesses and self-employed people, SMEs they're called apparently, small and medium enterprises. And so I used Anna to create a specific account for my video work. Moving on now to the technology part of this that is to do with cameras and video. This camera I've shown you before, it's actually now plugged into my phone. When I plug it into my phone, it brings up an app in the phone, I don't know if you can see that, which gives you a much bigger screen to view the camera. So the people who are watching who said, how can you possibly see that little 1-inch screen and film with it? Well, there you go. Everybody's happy to film on a phone size screen, so plug that in and there you go. Now the other thing I bought is a clamp. The clamp clamps around the camera and it clamps the phone in as well. It's an adjustable thing. So if I'll just take that apart so you can see what the original setup was. I'll take that out. That's my phone. I'll take the camera out of the clamp there. This camera is connected to the phone via a little USB connector. Now when you buy this phone, this camera, getting confused between cameras and phones today, it comes with a blanking plate across there. That's a kind of accessory shoe, only it's sort of custom to the camera. So you just have these little adapters. You can get one for an iPhone as well. This one fits all other phones. iPhone always do that. Well, Apple in general do their own thing. So I'll just turn that off again. So the other thing that I could just quickly show you, this clamp was only a few pounds from eBay. It holds the phone and the camera, and on the bottom it's got a screw thread which will go on any kind of monkey pod or anything else you've got, or on a standard tripod it just screws on. So you can now put that camera on a stand or anything like that. The other part of the Techno Spot is the actual video production itself, the software, special effects and all that. I don't go into that very often because not that many people are interested, but 1 month we'll do a bit on that as well. And finally we go back in time 2 years to the Maythorn Monthly of June 2018, which in turn was going back to 1998 to show you a video that my stepson made of the opening of Blue Planet Aquarium on the Wirral. 2 years ago I was just coming to terms with the vandalism and the repairs needed on my house in Trythin, and I just got in a builder to put on a new roof. In our Spanish apartment we were sharing our balcony with the house martins, and I decided to video them and slow them down because they moved too fast for the eye to see. A fascinating insight. And I was teaching 2 of my grandchildren to help me with my videos, and this one they're trying to keep the camera steady. I don't think we succeeded with that. Colin and I were in Bulgaria, and there was a video exploring the old capital of Veliko Tarnovo, and of course some of the pubs and the beer.
And finally,
I featured the BBC News theme, which has been back in the limelight in the current lockdown as it gets featured on social media.
The idea was pips on the radio. When you hear the beeps, you instantly know you're listening to the radio, and it's time for the news. And I thought, well, maybe, how about doing it? I was thinking to myself, we could do the pips with a dance beat, because it's all about time and accuracy and stuff.
Gets you hyped up for the news.
Yeah, you could use the pip and like this, and then which is a sound in itself, that works, and then start adding drums to it, like a bit more drums like that. And just building up the idea. So pips with a dance beat, and then adding the bass line.
I can hear this in Ibiza now.
So the bass line's got a bit of a sort of reggaeton feel to it, you know, that that sort of feel, and then building up with big drums to add a bit of drama and tension. Because my dream when I was a kid was wanting to work for the BBC or do something for the BBC. The ambition was to come up with a theme tune that everybody would want to go out and buy, you know, or like or love, because in the end, everybody, when you write music, you want everybody to love it, you know. And it just sort of goes to prove that if you've got a dream and you follow it, then it will actually happen.
The BBC! Do not listen to the others! They are the false prophets! Only us! The true way! Here we go! 1,